Have you ever found yourself standing in the kitchen, holding something in your hand, and suddenly forgetting why you picked it up? Or maybe you've walked into a room and paused, trying to remember what you came in for. It's a quiet frustration, one that many of us over 65 know all too well. And at first, we brush it off. It's just age, we say. It happens to everyone. But what if that's not entirely true? What if forgetfulness, sluggishness, or that growing sense of being disconnected isn't just getting older? What if it's a signal, one we've been told to ignore for too long? You see, the small things, feeling more tired than usual, losing focus during conversations, or needing a nap after simple chores, might seem like normal signs of aging. But sometimes, they're early whispers from our body asking for help. And the good news is, these whispers can be answered. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 powerful decisions I made at 65 that completely changed how I felt, thought, and lived. And near the end, I'll reveal the single habit that helped me feel more alive than I had in years. So stay with me. You might just see yourself in this story. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Decision 1. I stopped living for others' expectations. There's a moment, somewhere after 65, when you look up from the business of daily life and realize the silence in the room feels heavier than it used to. The phone rings less. The family visits more out of tradition than necessity. The world, it seems, starts moving around you instead of with you. And in those quiet spaces, old habits start to speak a little louder. If you're like I was, maybe you've spent a lifetime trying to be what everyone needed. Always the reliable one, the helpful one, the one who holds it all together. I remember the holidays most of all. My calendar would fill up with birthdays, graduations, and Thanksgiving dinners, events where my presence wasn't just expected, but required. I baked pies for people who never returned the Tupperware. I watched grandkids on Saturday nights when my knees begged for rest. I said yes to every request, every favor, every last-minute change of plan. And I told myself this was just what good mothers, good grandmothers, good neighbors did. But I began to notice a creeping exhaustion. Not the kind you fix with a nap, but the deep-down fatigue of someone always living by other people's needs and schedules. I'd feel a twinge of envy when I heard about a friend's solo vacation, or even a quiet afternoon spent reading on her porch, feet up, no one asking for anything. I told myself I was needed, and that was enough. But is it? Have you ever wondered how many of your days you spend doing what others expect, instead of what you want? We rarely ask this question out loud, because we're taught that caring for others is the most important thing. And it is, to a point. But somewhere along the way, being there for everyone else can quietly turn into forgetting who you are. What if, just for a moment, you turned the question around? What if living for yourself wasn't selfish at all, but essential? What if the exhaustion, the resentment, even the aches in your body are sometimes your mind and spirit telling you that you need permission to be your person again? There's science behind this. Psychologists call it role engulfment, when the expectations placed on us by family, culture, or community become so all-consuming that we lose touch with our authentic selves. For older adults, especially women, studies show this pressure to be the ever-present caregiver can lead to anxiety, depression, and even physical health problems like insomnia or high blood pressure. Researchers at Stanford found that seniors who continue to live primarily for others, without honoring their own needs, report lower life satisfaction and higher rates of chronic illness. But here's the hopeful part. The moment you start listening to what you need, even in small ways, remarkable things begin to shift. Your brain's stress circuits quiet down. Your heart rate lowers. You regain a sense of agency, of purpose. In one longitudinal study, seniors who learned to set healthy boundaries, saying no more often, and prioritizing their joy, showed improved mood, stronger immunity, and better cognitive function. The trick is, it doesn't require a dramatic act of rebellion. It starts with the smallest, most ordinary decisions. For me, it began one chilly October evening. My daughter called, asking if I could watch her twins while she attended a last-minute work event. I looked at the clock. I just settled in with a cup of tea, planning to finally start that novel I'd been putting off for years. My first impulse was to say yes, as always. But something in me paused. I heard myself say, "I'm so sorry, but tonight I need some time for myself." The silence on the other end was awkward, but it was real. My heart raced. I felt guilt, of course. Decades of habit don't fade in a single moment. But as I sat there, alone for the first evening in months, I felt something else: relief. I read for hours, lost in a story that had nothing to do with anyone else's needs. When I finally closed the book, I realized my cup of tea was cold, but my spirit was warmer than it had been in a long, long time. This was the first of many small no's that would change my life. I started carving out afternoons just for me: a walk in the park, a gardening project, a visit to the local museum. I said no to events I didn't enjoy, and yes to new experiences that made me feel alive. And to my surprise, my family adjusted. My grandchildren still love me. My friends understood. The world, as it turns out, doesn't fall apart when you choose yourself, even once in a while. If you're wondering how to start, let me offer a simple approach. Begin by noticing the requests that drain your energy, big or small. Ask yourself, if I say yes, will I be resentful? Or will I feel generous? If resentment even whispers, that's your cue to pause. Practice saying, I'd love to help, but I'm not able to this time. Or, let me check my calendar and get back to you. These little scripts buy you time, and over time, you'll find it gets easier to honor your limits. Try scheduling me time the way you would any other appointment. Block it on your calendar, even if it's just 30 minutes. Use that time for something that truly brings you joy: music, art, a quiet walk, a phone call to an old friend. If you feel guilty, remember, your needs matter. Caring for yourself makes you stronger and more present for the people you love. You can't pour from an empty cup. Let me tell you about my friend Robert, a retired engineer from Michigan. For years after his wife passed, Robert became the go-to person for his extended family. Need a ride to the airport? Call Robert. Need help moving furniture? Robert will be there. At first, he was glad to stay busy, but the endless requests left him feeling more alone than ever. One day, he quietly set new rules. He would help once a week, but not at the expense of his hobbies. He took up woodworking, joined a local chess club, and started spending Sundays fishing on the lake, just for himself. Robert told me, I thought they'd stop needing me, but instead, they started appreciating me more. And I started appreciating myself. Sometimes, the greatest kindness we can show our families is to model healthy boundaries. When your children and grandchildren see you respecting yourself, they learn to respect you more, and, one day, to respect their own needs too. You permit them to care for themselves, just by caring for yourself. If you're afraid that you'll lose your place in your loved ones' lives, let me reassure you. The people who truly care about you want to see you happy, vibrant, and at peace. You are not here to be everyone's safety net. You are here to live your own life, at your own pace, for as long as you can. Maybe this is the chapter where you rediscover what brings you joy. Not what fills up your schedule, but what fills up your heart. Maybe it's time for long walks with no destination, afternoons lost in music, picking up an old hobby, or simply sitting quietly in the garden, listening to the birds. Your life belongs to you. So today, ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do, just for me? Maybe it's saying no, gently but firmly, to a request you don't want to accept. Maybe it's blocking off time for a passion project, or letting your phone go to voicemail while you nap in the sun. Remember, you have earned this freedom. It is not selfish. It is essential. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. And if that familiar wave of guilt or doubt comes over you, let this be your reminder. You are not letting anyone down by choosing yourself. You're finally stepping up for the one person who needs your love the most, you. Changing this one habit, letting go of living for others' expectations, might feel uncomfortable at first. But trust me, it's the beginning of coming home to yourself. You might just find that the people who matter most don't disappear. Instead, you meet them again, as the fullest version of who you truly are. So go ahead. Say yes to yourself, even if it's just for today. Your heart and your life will thank you. Decision 2. I moved to a smaller place and found freedom. It's funny, the way a house can start to feel like a living thing. When I was younger, our home was always alive with movement. Kids running down the hall, doors slamming, and the smell of dinner drifting in from the kitchen. Back then, every room had a purpose, every corner a story. The closets overflowed with holiday decorations and old photo albums. The garage was filled with camping gear, bikes, and boxes labeled just in case. It all seemed essential, each item, each memory, each inch of space. But as the years went by and the children grew up and moved away, the house slowly changed. The laughter faded into echoes. The holidays shrank from big, noisy gatherings to quiet afternoons with just a handful of family. The whole room sat empty, collecting dust instead of memories. Still, I held on. I told myself the space was comforting, that the house was a part of me. You'll never feel lonely in a house full of memories, I'd say, but some nights, the silence pressed in so heavily that I had to turn on the TV just to hear another voice. I think a lot of us reach a point where we wonder, does this place still fit me? Maybe you felt it too, the nagging sense that the walls are closing in, not because the space is too small, but because it's too big for the life you're living now. You walk through rooms you never use, straightening picture frames and fluffing pillows for no one. You find yourself hesitating before climbing the stairs, or you avoid opening that one closet because you know it's filled with things you haven't touched in years. You keep telling yourself it's normal, that everyone feels this way with age. After all, isn't holding on to the family home a sign of strength, of tradition, of love? But what if that's not the whole story? What if clinging to a large house, full of unused things and empty spaces, isn't making us stronger, but holding us back? What if the freedom we crave in our golden years can't be found in more space, but in less? Researchers have found that as we age, our surroundings play a powerful role in our sense of well-being. The more cluttered or overwhelming our homes become, the more likely we are to feel anxious, isolated, or even depressed. A study by the National Institute on Aging discovered that seniors who lived in homes that fit their current lives, smaller, simpler, and more manageable, reported greater life satisfaction, less daily stress, and improved health. Letting go of extra space doesn't mean letting go of your memories. In fact, it can help you reconnect with the ones that matter most. For years, I resisted the idea of moving. I'd hear friends talk about downsizing and think, that's not for me. But the day came when I realized I was spending more time maintaining the house than enjoying it. The weekends disappeared into chores, cleaning gutters, dusting spare bedrooms, worrying about the roof. I remember standing in the backyard after a long day of raking leaves and thinking, I don't own this house anymore. It owns me. Still, fear crept in. What if I moved and regretted it? What if I felt lost without the big kitchen, the familiar backyard, the room where my children used to sleep? But then I asked myself, what if I don't? What if moving to a smaller place could set me free? The process wasn't easy. I started with a single drawer, sorting through old receipts, birthday cards, and knickknacks that had quietly multiplied over the years. For each item, I asked, does this add to my life or weigh it down? It surprised me how much lighter I felt with every box I gave away or donated. The memories stayed with me, even as the objects left my hands. The real turning point came when I found a cozy, sunlit apartment near the local park. It was half the size of my old house, but every inch was filled with light and possibility. I traded the big backyard for a balcony with flower pots. I swapped the formal dining room for a breakfast nook just big enough for morning coffee and a good book. Instead of feeling cramped, I felt liberated. Every corner served a purpose. Every item I kept brought me joy. My days changed, too. I spent less time cleaning and fixing, and more time living. I could walk to the grocery store or the library without worrying about traffic or parking. I joined a community gardening group, something I never made time for before. My neighbors became friends, always up for a cup of tea or a quick chat. With fewer rooms to fill, I discovered a sense of calm I hadn't felt in years. There's something profoundly freeing about letting go of what you no longer need. It's not about getting rid of your past, but making space for your present and your future. The science backs this up. Living in a right-sized home can reduce fall risk, improve mobility, and even boost brain health because your environment is simpler, safer, and less stressful. If you're thinking about downsizing, here's a gentle approach you might try. Start small. Pick one room or even one shelf, and ask yourself what truly matters to you. Keep what you love, what makes you smile, what you use every day. Let go of what you're holding onto out of habit or guilt. If you're not sure about a keepsake, box it up and revisit it in a month. Often, you'll find that you don't miss what you thought you couldn't live without. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Downsizing can be an emotional journey. Invite family or friends to share in the process. Sometimes a story told over an old photo can bring laughter and tears, and help you decide what to keep. Remember, it's okay to feel sad about letting go. It's a sign that you've lived a full life, surrounded by people and things you care about. Let me tell you about Evelyn, a dear friend from church. Evelyn spent 30 years in her family home after her husband passed away. Every spring, she'd talk about moving, but fear always stopped her. Last year, after a bad fall on her porch steps, she decided it was time. With her daughter's help, Evelyn found a one-bedroom apartment in a senior community nearby. She was nervous at first, but now, every time I visit, I see her sitting by her window, sunlight on her face, a jigsaw puzzle spread out on the table. I never realized how heavy that house was until I left, she told me. Now, every day feels lighter. Freedom, I've learned, doesn't always mean wide open spaces. Sometimes, it's about letting go of what weighs you down so you can move, breathe, and dream again. It's about waking up in a place that feels just right for you, where every corner is a reminder that your best days are still unfolding, not locked away in dusty rooms. If you're standing on the edge of this decision, feeling uncertain, let me encourage you. It's okay to let go. The memories will come with you. The love will too. What you gain, ease, lightness, even new adventures, might surprise you. Downsizing isn't about shrinking your world. It's about making room for the life you want to live now. So take your time. Let your heart guide you. Imagine mornings filled with sunlight instead of chores, afternoons spent with friends instead of cleaning, and evenings wrapped in peace instead of worry. This next chapter is yours to write. Don't be afraid to turn the page. You are not losing your home. You are gaining your freedom. And that, at any age, is something worth celebrating. Decision 3. I started taking care of my body, like it took care of me. There's something almost bittersweet about the way our bodies change with time. In our youth, our bodies seem to ask for nothing and give us everything. Energy, strength, resilience. I remember racing up the steps 2 at a time, staying up late into the night, eating whatever I wanted without a second thought, and waking up refreshed. My legs never ached, my hands didn't tremble, and my back was just there, quietly doing its job. But the years have a way of catching up. It doesn't happen all at once. It's subtle. One morning you realize that getting out of bed is a little slower, your joints a little stiffer, your steps a bit less steady. Maybe your favorite foods no longer agree with you, or your sleep is broken by long stretches of wakefulness. I think every person over 65 has had that moment. The quiet realization that the body that carried you through every season of life now needs a bit more care, a bit more tenderness. At first, I tried to brush it off. It's just age, I'd say, as if that explained away every ache and pain, every restless night, every pill bottle lining the bathroom shelf. I thought it was normal to feel worn out, to avoid the stairs, to need help carrying groceries. That's just the way it is after 65, I'd tell myself, and the people around me agreed. We all seem to accept it as an unspoken rule of aging. The body breaks down, and you learn to live with less. But one day, I caught myself looking in the mirror. And I saw a person I barely recognized. The light in my eyes had dimmed, my shoulders slumped, and my skin looked tired. At that moment, a question came to me. What if these aches and slowdowns aren't just a sentence I have to accept? What if they're signals, little messages from my body asking me to pay attention? Modern science tells us that our bodies are wonderfully adaptable, even as we age. Studies from the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins show that regular, gentle exercise, even a brisk walk around the block, can strengthen muscles, improve balance, and keep our minds sharper. Nutrition, too, plays a bigger role than we ever realized. A few more greens, a bit less sugar, more water and fiber, and suddenly digestion is smoother, sleep deeper, and energy higher. Simple changes, but so powerful. I started with baby steps. The first was a daily walk. Just around the neighborhood at first, leaning on my cane, greeting the same neighbors every morning. My knees complained, but slowly, very slowly, my legs felt stronger. Then I began stretching after my shower, reaching for my toes and rolling my shoulders. Some days I barely made it past the mailbox, but the next day, I always tried again. I changed my eating too, not by following some complicated diet, but by listening to what made me feel good. I swapped the white bread for whole grain, added berries to my cereal, and made sure to drink water before every meal. I cut back on processed foods and tried new recipes with lots of color. Salmon, broccoli, sweet potatoes, walnuts. My digestion improved, my energy returned, and I slept more soundly than I had in years. Rest became a priority. I let myself nap when I was tired, but I also set a gentle routine, going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, turning off screens an hour before sleep, and reading instead of watching TV. My mind felt clearer. My moods lifted. I felt, for the first time in decades, that I was living in partnership with my body instead of battling against it. I know how hard it can be to start. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to think, what's the point at my age? But the truth is, every small act of care is an act of love for yourself. A way of saying thank you to the body that has carried you through every joy and hardship. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Harold, who lives 2 doors down. Harold is 77, a widower, and for years, he hardly left his house except for groceries. He told me he felt invisible, old, and forgotten. However, after his doctor warned him about high blood pressure and borderline diabetes, Harold decided to make a change. He started walking with a group at the local mall. At first, he needed frequent breaks and was always the last to finish, but he kept going. He swapped soda for water, started gardening, and tried Tai Chi classes for seniors at the community center. 6 months later, Harold lost 15 pounds, lowered his blood pressure, and told me he felt 20 years younger. Most importantly, Harold found a new circle of friends. People who cheered him on, shared recipes, and reminded him he wasn't alone. Caring for your body doesn't mean chasing after youth or trying to erase every wrinkle. It's about honoring the vessel that has carried your memories, your laughter, your tears. It's about making peace with change, but not surrendering to decline. Your body is still capable of healing, of growing stronger, of surprising you. If you're not sure where to begin, here's what I learned. Start small. Choose one gentle change. Maybe a walk after breakfast, a fruit instead of a cookie, or a glass of water before your coffee. Write down how you feel after, and celebrate every little victory. If you have limitations, bad knees, arthritis, trouble sleeping, work with what you have. Chair exercises, light stretching, and even mindful breathing can make a difference. Ask your doctor or local senior center for suggestions, and don't be afraid to reach out for help or companionship. The journey is always easier with someone by your side. Remember, your worth isn't measured by how far or how fast you go. Progress is personal. What matters is that you listen to your body, respond with kindness, and keep showing up for yourself. There will be days when you slip, when old habits return, or when you feel like giving up. That's okay. Forgive yourself and try again tomorrow. You are not weak for needing rest or for starting over. You are strong for not giving up. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. I wish someone had told me sooner that it's never too late to start over, to reclaim health and dignity. Aging isn't about losing control. It's about learning a new rhythm, one that honors both your history and your hope for the future. So take this as your invitation. Thank your body for everything it has done for you. Every scar, every ache, every step. Treat it as you would an old, loyal friend, with patience, respect, and care. Whether you're walking the block, stretching in the living room, trying a new vegetable, or simply breathing deeply in the sunlight, you are making a difference. Don't let anyone tell you it's too late or not worth the effort. Every moment of care is a gift, not just to your body, but to your spirit, your family, and your life. The journey isn't about being perfect. It's about finding joy in the little things and knowing, deep down, that you are still capable of change. You've spent a lifetime carrying others, showing up for everyone else. Now, it's your turn. Take care of your body like it took care of you, because you are worth every ounce of love you can give yourself. And your next chapter, healthy, strong, and full of hope, starts today. Decision 4. I let go of people who drained me. There's an old saying that with age comes wisdom, but I think it also brings a certain kind of clarity, a sharper sense of what lifts us and what quietly drags us down. In our younger years, relationships seemed to be everywhere. Friends from work, neighbors who became like family, relatives always dropping by, and so many invitations that our calendars overflowed. There was always a birthday to celebrate, a barbecue to attend, a phone call to answer. But as the decades pass, you start to notice that not all connections are equal. Some people bring warmth and laughter, even on the hardest days. Others leave you feeling empty, tired, or even anxious after just a short conversation. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, coffee in hand, thinking about certain friends whose calls I dreaded, not because I didn't care, but because every conversation left me feeling worse. Maybe you've felt it, too. The friend who only talks about their problems, never asking about yours. The relative who criticizes your choices or brings up the past at every family dinner. The neighbor who only stops by when they need a favor, never once offering help in return. For the longest time, I told myself this was normal. That's just how people are, I'd think. You can't pick your family. I made excuses. Maybe they were having a bad day, or maybe I was just too sensitive. I didn't want to be unkind or selfish. After all, isn't life about sticking together, forgiving flaws, and being there for people who need us? For years, I put my feelings aside and kept answering the phone, kept inviting people over, and kept swallowing that uneasy feeling in my chest. But then, After my 68th birthday, something shifted. I realized that every time I said yes to someone who left me feeling drained, I was saying no to my peace. I started to ask myself a different question. What if protecting my energy wasn't selfish, but necessary? What if letting go of certain relationships could make room for something better? As it turns out, there's more science to this than I ever realized. Studies from Harvard and the Mayo Clinic show that our social circles directly affect our mental and physical health, especially as we age. Positive relationships can lower blood pressure, boost our immune systems, and help us live longer. But toxic, one-sided, or emotionally exhausting connections have the opposite effect, increasing stress hormones and even raising the risk of heart disease. The body knows what the heart is feeling, even when we try to ignore it. Letting go doesn't mean you have to slam the door or make a dramatic announcement. In most cases, it's much quieter than that. For me, it started with noticing how I felt after each interaction. I made a little list, not on paper, just in my mind, of who brought joy and who brought stress. I noticed the patterns, the friend who always left me feeling light, and the one who left me needing a nap. I decided to lean into the relationships that gave me energy, and gently step back from the ones that took it away. It wasn't easy at first. Guilt crept in, and old habits are hard to break. The first time I let a call go to voicemail instead of picking up right away, I felt like I was doing something wrong. But then I remembered a piece of advice my mother gave me long ago. If someone makes you feel small, that's not love, it's habit. I permitted myself to choose my own company, even if it meant spending more time alone. I also tried something new. I reached out to people I admired but hadn't spent much time with before. There was Linda, a neighbor who always seemed to have a kind word and a gentle smile. I invited her over for tea, and we discovered a shared love of gardening and old movies. I joined a small book club at the library and, to my surprise, found laughter and connection with people I might never have met otherwise. These new relationships felt easy and uplifting, free of drama or expectation. Let me share a story about Bill, a retired firefighter in my community. For years, Bill felt obligated to maintain a friendship with a childhood buddy who never seemed happy for him. Every success was downplayed, every joy overshadowed by his friends' jealousy or complaints. Bill always left those visits feeling low, but loyalty and old memories kept him coming back. After his wife encouraged him to focus on the people who truly cared, Bill slowly stopped answering every call. Instead, he started meeting up with other retired firefighters for breakfast, sharing stories and laughter. I never realized how much weight I was carrying, Bill told me one morning. Letting go made room for the friends I want around. If you're thinking about making a change, know that it doesn't have to be harsh or sudden. You don't need to cut people off or start arguments. Sometimes, it's as simple as being less available. Letting some relationships drift into the background while you nurture the ones that make you feel safe, respected, and seen. If a relationship truly matters, you'll find new, healthier ways to connect. And if it doesn't, you're allowed to move forward. Here are some gentle ways to start. Permit yourself to take a break from draining conversations. Say, "I'm busy right now, can I call you back later?" Or, "I'm focusing on my health and need some quiet time." Spend more time with people who make you feel good and less with those who leave you feeling empty. Try something new, a class, a volunteer group, a walking club, and see what fresh connections unfold. Remember, you are not responsible for fixing other people's moods, or for carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. You are allowed to prioritize your happiness, to seek out joy, to protect your energy as fiercely as you once protected your children or your career. In fact, by modeling self-respect, you teach those around you, especially the younger generation, that it's okay to expect kindness in return. Letting go of draining relationships isn't about bitterness or regret. It's about honoring the season of life you're in now, a season where peace, laughter, and genuine connection matter more than ever. The people who lift you are the ones who deserve your time and heart. If loneliness worries you, remember this: true connection starts with yourself. As you spend less time with those who hurt you, you'll have more time for the things that fill your soul. Reading, gardening, walking, and learning something new. As you grow lighter, others will be drawn to your energy, and new friendships can bloom in the most unexpected places. So here's my encouragement to you. Be brave enough to release what weighs you down. Trust that your heart knows the difference between comfort and obligation. Life is too short and too precious to waste on people who leave you feeling unseen, unheard, or unloved. You deserve peace. You deserve joy. You deserve to fill your days with kindness and care, just as you've given those gifts to others for so long. And as you let go of what no longer serves you, you'll find there's more room in your life for the happiness and freedom you've always deserved. Letting go can be scary, but it's also a doorway, a chance to write a new chapter, surrounded by people who truly value the real, wonderful you. Decision 5. I tried something new, just because I wanted to. There's a quiet moment that sneaks up on many of us as we settle into our later years, a moment when we realize that some dreams were never quite forgotten, only tucked away, quietly waiting for the right time. Maybe it was a hobby you loved as a child but put aside for decades. Or a passion you admired in others but never thought to pursue yourself. For me, that moment came like a gentle nudge, one I could no longer ignore. For years, I believed it was too late to try anything new. After all, wasn't my time for adventure behind me? I'd already lived a full life, raised a family, worked hard, raised grandchildren. The idea of picking up a paintbrush, learning a new language, or even joining a dance class felt, frankly, a little foolish. Who was I trying to impress? Was there any point? But deep down, I felt a restlessness, a quiet longing I couldn't shake. So one day, I asked myself a question that changed everything. What if trying something new isn't about what you can prove to others, but about what you can discover about yourself? What if it's less about age and more about curiosity? What if the too late I'd believed was just a story I told myself? Research shows that learning new skills later in life can have incredible benefits, not just for the brain, but for overall well-being. Neuroscientists have found that engaging in new activities stimulates neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and keep itself sharp. Activities like painting, dancing, or learning a musical instrument have been linked to improved memory, reduced risk of dementia, and even a boost in mood and confidence. It's not just about staying busy, it's about keeping your mind and spirit alive. Encouraged by this, I decided to permit myself. No pressure, no expectations, just the freedom to explore. I enrolled in a beginner's painting class at the local community center, a place I'd driven past countless times but never stepped inside. On the first day, I was nervous, unsure if I still had the patience or the skill. My hands trembled as I held the brush, and my first strokes were hesitant. But I laughed when I accidentally knocked over my water cup, and the instructor smiled warmly, reminding me, this is about joy, not perfection. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Week by week, I found myself looking forward to those afternoons. The colors on the canvas, the quiet focus, the camaraderie of fellow learners. It awakened something in me I hadn't felt in years. My confidence grew, and so did my sense of possibility. I wasn't just painting. I was reclaiming a part of myself I thought I'd lost. Trying something new doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It can be as simple as picking up a book in a genre you never read before, planting a few flowers, or learning to play a card game with friends. What matters is the spirit of exploration, the willingness to say, I'm curious, I'm open, I'm still growing. If you're feeling hesitant, I want to share a few gentle ways to start. First, think about what has always sparked your interest, even if it seemed impractical or out of reach. Maybe it's cooking a new cuisine, joining a walking group, or trying yoga for seniors. Then, take a small step. Call the community center, browse online classes, or ask a friend to join you. Don't worry about being perfect or catching on quickly. The process is the reward. I also want to tell you about Mary, a remarkable woman I met at a seniors choir group. Mary had always dreamed of singing but never felt confident enough to perform. After her retirement, she joined the choir on a whim. At first, she was shy and self-conscious, but the group welcomed her warmly. Over time, Mary's voice grew stronger, her smile brighter. She told me, "I never imagined I could feel this alive again. It's like finding a new family and a new part of myself." Mary's story reminds me that it's never too late to embrace new joys. Trying something new is also a powerful way to build resilience. Life can throw unexpected challenges, health scares, losses, or changes in routine. Engaging in new activities helps us adapt, find purpose, and connect with others. It fuels our creativity and reminds us that growth doesn't end with age. If you've spent a lifetime caring for others, remember that trying new things is a gift you give to yourself. It's an act of self-love, a celebration of your ongoing journey. It tells the world, and yourself, that your story isn't finished, that chapters yet to be written hold surprises and delights. So today, I invite you to consider what small adventure might brighten your days. What have you always wanted to try, but told yourself it was too late? What's one tiny step you can take this week to make room for new experiences? You deserve the excitement of discovery, the joy of learning, and the warmth of new friendships. Age is not a boundary, it's a vantage point, offering wisdom and courage to explore without fear. Remember, the most important thing is that you do it for you. No one else needs to understand or approve. This is your time to be curious, playful, and alive. You have everything it takes to start fresh, to find new passions, and to enrich your life in ways you never imagined. So go ahead, try that class, pick up that brush, join that group. You might just surprise yourself. And when you do, know that you're inspiring others, showing by example that life's possibilities are endless, no matter our age. Your new beginning is waiting. All you have to do is take the first step. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to take a moment and breathe it all in. These 5 decisions: choosing yourself over others' expectations, finding freedom in a smaller space, caring for your body with kindness, releasing draining relationships, and daring to try something new, are more than just choices. They are acts of courage, love, and self-respect. They remind us that no matter our age, we hold the power to shape our own lives. Maybe some of these stories felt familiar. Maybe others sparked a flicker of hope or even a little fear. That's natural. Change can be uncomfortable, but it's also the gateway to growth. You don't have to make all these changes at once. Start with one. Just one small step toward living a life that feels true to you. Remember, your value isn't tied to what you do for others or how you're expected to live. Your worth is in your very being. Your stories, your laughter, your dreams. And the beautiful truth is that it's never too late to reclaim joy, purpose, and peace. So, I invite you now. What is one thing from today's video that touched your heart? One decision you feel ready to explore, or one small change you want to try? Share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories, your hopes, and how you plan to make your days brighter. If this video brought you comfort or inspiration, please like and share it with someone who might need to hear these words today. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories and ideas to help you live your best life at every age. You've already lived a remarkable life. Now, let's make sure the next chapters are filled with the freedom, love, and happiness you deserve. Here's to you, bold, beautiful, and just getting started.